Good evening and welcome to the Hermiston City Council and Urban Renewal Agency meeting for March 8th, 2020. We have a quorum. We're going to excuse Councilor Peterson this evening. Please join me in a flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kind of an exciting evening this evening because we have lots of exciting recognition to do. But we're going to move up Mr. Usher. Yes, Mr. Usher. We're going to move you up in our agenda so we can get you out of here and get you back to the JV football game. So please welcome Mr. Usher from the Hermiston School District. Come on up.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate you moving me up. We got JV football going on in the stadium right now, so I kind of want to give everybody an update so I can get back over to supervise some JV football games. So,
Larry, is that microphone on? Just a reminder, whoever's speaking this evening, make sure you speak into the microphone. We are recording online through YouTube, so we want to make sure that you also get heard on there too.
I think it's on, yeah.
Now it's on. Perfect. Thank you.
Not that I've ever needed a microphone before, but yeah, I completely understand. So obviously, yes, one of our big updates is we've got athletics up and running right now. I'm really excited to say that sure feels like some job security for me, that's for sure, but we've got all of our fall sports right now up and running. I know it's a little bit strange to say we're in the middle of our fall sports season in March, and but it is really exciting. We've had had our first volleyball match last night at the Dalles. We've got a lot of girls soccer games that have taken place already. We've had a few soccer matches. I think many of you know Friday night was our first football game. First football game actually since November of 2019. And excited that we got a big win over Hanford on Friday night. JV's playing Hanford right now. And then we have some cross-country meets going on. Typically those are on Saturdays with our tough schedules right now. And slow pitch softball as well, which is one of our fall sports, so they played a few games as well. And they're actually headed to Moses Lake tomorrow night. So we're really excited. We've got athletics taking place in the district. We still are going to have 3 full seasons, provided nothing crazy happens. And I know that nothing crazy has happened in the last year or so, so we never know what's going to happen. But we're planning to have 3 full seasons, starting with, our next season would end up being our spring sports season, which is going to start at the end of March. We're going to have 1 week of overlap. Spring sports will start on March 22nd, and then the first week in May is when we'll be starting winter sports. So winter sports will be going May through like June 19th, I believe, is what we'll be doing for like basketball, wrestling, some of our traditional winter sports. So on the school district side, I think a lot of people probably know that all of our kindergarten through 5th graders are back in class starting today. So we're on an AM/PM hybrid schedule, and today was the first day that we finally got all K-5. So we started K-1 several weeks ago and then transitioned with our 2nd and 3rd graders, and then finally today brought all our 4th and 5th graders back to school. So we had some half-full buildings today in the morning and half-full in the afternoon. We were pretty excited about that. Middle school students will be going back hybrid schedule on March 22nd, and the high school students will be going to an AB morning, afternoon hybrid schedule the day we get back from spring break, which is April 12th. A little bit about our schedule. There's a lot of different varieties of schedules out there for students that are returning to hybrid, and we made the decision to use the AM/PM hybrid schedule simply for, well, several reasons, but one of the big reasons was transportation. Being a rural community, and I know a lot of people like to compare what we're doing with the Tri-Cities and other places, but in our rural community, we have a lot of students that live quite a distance from our school buildings, and so transportation was really important for us. And so one of the things we've done is we've divided our students AM/PM, and in the elementary schools, our students that are bus riders go to school in the morning and non-bus riders in the afternoon, and then we're going to flop that at the secondary level where our bus riders will go to school in the afternoon and our non-bus riders will go to school in the morning to help alleviate some of that stress on the transportation. And right now, our bus company, Mid-Columbia Bus Company, they're not fully staffed right now like a lot of businesses in town, and so they're trying to get some more employees to come out to help drive buses. It seems like that's an ongoing problem for us with Mid-Columbia Bus Company, but hopefully they get fully staffed. We won't have any problems with that in the future. We do have a lot of students that are choosing to not come back to class this time, not nearly as many as we anticipated, but those that are not choosing to come back to class on time, they're being offered an opportunity virtually through Hermiston Online, which is our own online platform that we run through a company called K-12 Education. It used to be known as Fuel Ed. It's staffed by multiple teachers all around the state of Oregon, but it's an online virtual opportunity for our students to stay in the Hermiston School District and not necessarily have to come back in person if they choose to not do that. Other than that, we're anxiously awaiting guidance. I think that seems like a weekly statement in the world of education and in the world of government as well. I understand that, but we're supposed to be getting more updated guidance as far as what's going to be taking place in the classroom on March 19th is what we've been told. That OHA and the governor's office is going to inform Oregon Department of Education of some new guidance for us. We are hoping that it's going to be loosening some of our restrictions for cohorts in the classroom, loosening some of our restrictions for as far as square footage in our classroom for students. It's making it really, really difficult to bring our kids back to class with the amount of space that we have. So we're hoping we're going to be able to get as many kids back in the classrooms as we can possibly fit soon. Any questions for me?
Well, thank you, Mr. Director. Exciting to see kids back in the classroom. It's exciting to see our student athletes have an opportunity to participate. Good win for the first football game of the year. It was exciting. Our student athletes are having a lot of success out there. Probably a lot of winded athletes, I would imagine. Conditioning has been minimized and restricted, and now they're wearing a mask and all those sort of things. So some challenges ahead of them, but just super exciting to see our kids getting back in the classroom and on the field. Any questions from council? No?
First home football game is coming Friday night against Walla Walla. We're excited we've got parents back in the stands now. So each of our student athletes have received 2 passes to share with their family or friends if they choose to, guardians, grandparents, whoever it may be, to come watch them play. So we'll probably have about 100 people in the stadium, all of our kids' parents and family members that get an opportunity to come watch them play. But anybody else, I'm guessing that the gate to the practice field might get left unlocked if anybody would like to go sit out there and watch some football.
Will it be televised?
Yes, everything will be televised on our YouTube channel, Hermiston TV, our YouTube channel. So it's another challenge for us right now with technology. We've had to invest in a lot more cameras and laptops so that we can go out and televise as many games as we can. I think on Thursday will be the first time we'll actually have 4 home contests going on at the same time in our district, with freshman football, slow pitch softball, JV volleyball, and freshman volleyball all going on at the same time. And we're going to try to stream all of those events through our YouTube channel at the same time. Micah Mercer, who's in charge of our live streaming, I think has a challenge ahead of him, but I'm sure he can probably make it happen.
I'd rather be dealing with that problem.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Any questions for me? Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our recognitions, and I am going to move up front. Hello, yes, you can hear me. So, we have a couple extra recognitions this evening. Brandon, you got the volume on that? We have a couple special recognitions this evening, and I'd like to invite Mr. Feder and Jose Garcia. Jose, yep, come on up. And Mariela Caldera, come on up. So, we had a special contest this winter. As you guys are probably aware, Funland burned down almost 2 years ago. And so we've been in repair mode for the last 2 years of trying to replace the Funland. And as part of that project, Larry, Parks and Rec Department put on a special program. Maybe you can explain the program and what that entailed.
We did. Well, part of the Funland design criteria was to incorporate some local arts and culture. And so we thought one way of doing that is to have a competition, invite our local artists We were happy to do that this fall. We had 6 submittals that were fantastic, and we have a winner. And I want to unveil tonight the 2 pieces of work that this particular artist has done for this playground that I think are fantastic. We have a rich heritage and culture. We want to celebrate that at our newest and greatest Funland playground. So happy to do that. We'd like to present, this is actually the taller of the 2. So we're going to unveil the taller of the 2. And it's a very fun, whimsical panel that, of course, will be instantly become a selfie station, right? So this is immediately going to be popular. It's going to be part of our playground structure, permanently installed there, and it'll be amongst some other elements that fit in with this theme. So we're pretty excited about that. We also have a second piece, and I'll just tell you a little story about this one. I was so impressed with Mariella's work that I asked her, I said, is there anything you could do that would look like this, that would really be Hermiston watermelon oriented and really kind of celebrate our agriculture? And we went back and forth. I'm sure it was annoying her, but she came up with this, and I think it's just fantastic. And it obviously plays to a younger audience. Kids can get behind there, stick their faces in it. And truly, Funland is going to be a destination playground. And we just want to celebrate who we are, culturally and artistically. And I think Mariella really hit the nail on the head. And maybe Jose wants to chime in a little bit.
Jose, you were involved in this process, so maybe you can explain the Hispanic Advisory Committee and their engagement in this process and how you identified the awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and present this wonderful art. Anybody wants to make a line and $100 a picture. So, this is the time to do it now. Yeah, I want to thank the city, and I want to thank the Parks and Recreation for giving Hack an opportunity to be part of this amazing project. As you can see, the city of Hermiston has so much talent, and that work is amazing. Very culturally appropriate. I'm pretty sure Mariella's family is so proud. We're going to be looking at this for generations to come, because the family is going to be so proud. And anybody who's, I can't wait to go to the park and start taking pictures and take my grandkids out there. But thank you for allowing Hack to be part of the logistics of this project. It's an amazing project. I think this is a time where maybe it could be a historical time for the Hispanic Advisory Committee to be part of this major project. Thank you, Mayor, Larry, thank you so much, and everybody who was involved with it.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for the Hispanic Advisory Committee as well, and their participation and making this an inclusive process and engaging. We want to make sure that we identify our cultures within our community, and this was a way for us to, put some art and some color into it as well. And I think there's going to be plenty of color at Funland. As far as an update, Larry, looking at maybe more?
Yeah, we're still shooting for Memorial Day weekend, and we need a lot of things to go right for that to happen, but that's our goal, so we can get a full season of use out of it.
So hopefully this spring we'll have these on display for you, and you'll be able to come and participate as a community and enjoy this beautiful art. So I want to present you with 2 things this evening. First is a certificate of artistic achievement for the creativity and visual expression displayed in her original entry to the Funland Playground Art Contest that exemplifies and embodies Latino culture. The interactive display she designed was selected from a field of submissions by the Hispanic Advisory Committee at Hermiston Park and Rec to become a permanent fixture at the Funland Playground. Let it be known this 8th day of March 2021 that Mariella's artistic effort is valued by the Hermiston community, and her creation will be an asset in beautifying the city. Signed by Jose Garcia, myself, and Larry Stetter. And I'm not sure if you knew about this or not, but we also have a special gift to give you in recognition, $500. So, would you like your family to come up and have a picture with you? Please, I'd like to invite your family up. Come on up. Let's all get up here and surround Mariella and take a picture. And I'll let you hold on to that. Larry, can we borrow that microphone? Mariella, would you like to say something about it?
So I may not be well prepared, but I'm going to try my best here. And I just wanted to start off with saying I want to thank my family, my boyfriend, my friends for always supporting me in my art career. I'm really passionate about art, and when I found out about this opportunity, I really wanted to take it because I feel like, hey, I can not only represent my Hispanic culture, but also the fact that I'm from Hermiston, Oregon. And so, of course, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win this, and I'm really happy to be here right now. And I also wanted to mention that I have been kind of doing this for a while. There's a bar and grill in Gresham, Oregon that I've done artwork for as well. And Eastern Oregon University, I created a large mural for them too. So it's something that I want to keep on continuing. And finally, I just want to say that if you need me for logo designs or mural creations, flyers, brochures, I'm here to help you. So mariartwork.com is my website, M-A-R-I, mariartwork.com. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mariella. We appreciate the beautiful artwork you've done. It's going to, emblazon the Funland Park for years to come, and we appreciate your work and effort in putting this together. So thank you very much. We also have another recognition to give this evening, and this is a community awareness recognition. And so I'd like to ask Brandon to come forward. Come on up, Brandon. So Larry, can I have that microphone back, please? Sorry. So something kind of crazy happened downtown, and Brandon happened to be the right man in the right spot, I guess, so to speak. And maybe you can kind of explain what happened.
Sure. So I just came back from visiting City Hall and all the going on there, and was driving back towards the community center where my office is located. And I look down the street and I see somebody lying in the road, and what looks like a dog right next to him. And I didn't really think anything of it, just thought he was trying to corral his dog that's loose. And I keep looking down there, and I realized that he's kind of in distress. So I thought, well, I'll just mosey down there and see what's going on. And so I drive down there, roll my window down, and as I roll my window down, I say, hey, buddy, do you need some help? He's like, yes, somebody just shot my dog. And as I kind of re-look at the scene, I see a handgun laying right next to him. And I was like, okay, something's going on. Shots are fired. Immediately, I pulled out my phone, dialed 911, and got out of my vehicle and was on the phone with Hermiston PD right away, saying we need officers down here. There's a shooting that's taking place. And at that time, an individual was coming out of the house that the man on the ground said that the shooting happened. And I knew right away this gun was going to be the key piece to keeping people safe. So I went up to it and I kicked it back underneath my vehicle so that I knew that that was safe. And I said to myself, I'm not letting this gun get to anybody's hand, not even mine. I'm going to wait till Hermiston PD comes. And so I stood over the gun, and there was an altercation still with them, but I wanted to make sure that gun was safe and that nobody was going to be able to use it to harm anyone. So Hermiston PD arrived within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and quickly took control of the situation. And other than the dog being shot, he survived. Nothing else major happened. So I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time and being able to help that individual.
Thank you, Brandon. Chief, you got any comments about that?
No, other than, somebody sees something, he had a gut feeling, he went with it. stepped up and actually, without going into detail, because this is a pending matter, it could have ended a lot worse. So we absolutely appreciate Brandon's assistance.
So Brandon, tonight it's my honor to present you with a certificate of recognition for your actions that go above and beyond the normal call of duty by offering assistance to a Hermiston resident in crisis on February 10, 2021. Upon finding an injured person on Gladys Avenue near Hermiston Public Library and recognizing the continued danger posed by a nearby firearm, Brandon's willingness to assist was crucial in a safe resolution to the situation. When another person exited a nearby residence and attempted to further harm the victim, Brandon's actions of kicking the weapon underneath a nearby vehicle and keeping it secured until a Hermiston police officer arrived showed awareness, composure, and compassion. Let it be known this 8th day of March 2021 that Brandon Hart has set an example for city employees and residents alike and how to be aware of their surroundings and help people in harm's way. His decisive actions and willingness to selflessly help resolve a dangerous situation potentially saved another person's life. Signed by the Chief of Police, myself, and City Manager Byron Smith. Thank you very much. Appreciate your leadership. Appreciate your service to the city, not only in the Park and Rec Department, but also, just as a general goodwill to the community. So thank you for your awareness. Do you want a picture with your family? I understand they're here. Yeah, come on out. Let's get your family up here too. We don't often get to see the city employees' families, so it's nice to see everybody this evening.
I do want to say, my beautiful wife, is there for me always, but, my dad, he's a Yakima County Sheriff's Officer, and learned a lot from him growing up, so I'm glad I was able to be in the right place at the right time.
Congratulations, Brandon. It's always fun to recognize people for doing good things within your community and good work, Brandon and Marielle this evening. It's always a favorite part of my job to participate in that process. So, Mr. Smith, you have a comment or a presentation about school resource officer information.
Yes, so I believe it was our last council meeting, there was a kind of a request to maybe hear a little bit more about our school resource officer program, and so I invited the chief to work on that, and I believe Captain Enan is going to make that presentation for us tonight.
Welcome, Captain Enan.
So if I could just start real quick and set the table a little bit. You guys have heard me talk about the relationship with the school district and how blessed we feel as a result of that relationship. Ironically, because of the city hall move out, Human Resources was in the vault recently and found some paperwork that shows the concept of an officer in the schools was discussed with the city council in November of 1993. Councilor Harden is listed in the minutes. The program of actually having an officer in the schools was launched in February of '94, so here we are some 27 years later, and we have 3 school resource officers. All 3 of them are members of the Oregon School Resource Officers Association. This summer, that trio, along with Captain Travis Enan, who is their direct report, will attend the national conference in Florida. Last year's conference was supposed to be in Texas and was canceled. So we've asked Captain Enan to give a brief presentation on kind of where we were 27 years ago, and then really how the school resource officers have evolved to what it is today.
Thank you. Good evening. So going back to 1994, the times were a little bit different. Bill Clinton was in office. We were doing a lot of these top staff grants, and there was grants for SROs at the time. The community policing model at that time was really a lot of zero tolerance, the broken windows theory, if you will. And that's effective, but it's not, over time we've evolved away from that for SROs. It's a little bit different. So we don't necessarily take that zero tolerance approach anymore. So we kind of followed the triad. This is the SRO triad. If you look at the screen, the SRO is a teacher, an informal counselor, and then finally an enforcement officer. So our officers will they'll teach classes. You know, we have 2 of our 3 SROs are brand new this year, so they haven't had an opportunity to do this yet. But Chris McMahon was an SRO for us last year, and several years. He's done a bunch of presentations in the schools. They do some kind of cool stuff too, where like middle school dances. When the parents come, they have the parents for about an hour. The dance is only a couple hours in middle school. The parents come in for about an hour of that, and they get a class on recognizing, you know, vape stings and stuff like that. So it's actually kind of an interesting approach, I thought. A little different than something I had heard of, so I like that. So they, at the high school level, we deal with, so instead of that 0 tolerance, we actually take it a whole different direction, kind of. So we have, the schools will deal with them with their own sanctions as far as kids getting caught with tobacco, alcohol, those kind of things. They get suspended. The SRO will typically write out a ticket for the violation and say, this is yours if you want it. So you have an opportunity to make this go away. And so we offer them, like there's one program called Vape Educate. So and that's not just for vaping, it's for, you know, tobacco cessation and so there's vape gels, there's cannabis vaping. So they have them take this class. They got to pay about $20 to take the class. If they choose to take the citation, they can do that. It's going to go through the juvenile system and it costs them about $50. So it's a better deal. It also requires them to put about 4 or 5 hours of work into this program, and they bring a certificate back in. Not only do they get out of the ticket, sort of, the ticket's basically it's suspended. So the officer's going to hold the ticket. If they get another violation like this within the school year, they're going to get both tickets. But we haven't had anybody get both tickets. It's worked out pretty well. The school will also take off their second day of their school suspension if they complete the program. So it's, you know, that's just an example of how we did take a little bit different approach, a little bit hands-off. Minor offenses such as, you know, kids fight, they get in fights at school. Years past, everybody fighting got arrested for disorderly conduct at minimum if it wasn't an assault as well. It's an assault, it's an assault. It's a little bit different, that's getting a little more serious. The kids that are fighting and engaging in mutual combat, and wrestling around on the floor, we also take that same approach. We don't have a real program, but the schools will do what they do with them. They still get their suspensions or their in-school suspensions or whatever sanctions the school gives. But we then will do the same thing. We give them an opportunity. Only difference is there's not a citation written, not a case taken, or there's a case taken, I'm sorry, a report is written. And so they have an opportunity to have that never go on there, never get charged with it. If there's a second one, then they're going to get both. And again, we haven't had anybody do a second one that has gone that route. So when we talk a little bit about the triad itself, I use my readers now. So some of the stuff that we do as far as informal counselors. So this is for us. You know, we've got an SRO at the grade school level. So that's all of the elementary schools. Then we have an SRO that handles both of the middle schools, and then an SRO that handles the high school. As you can imagine, those are handled completely different. Our grade school SRO is not doing a lot of law enforcement as far as enforcing the law. There's not a whole lot of laws broken at the grade school level, but we're building relationships. And we're starting that process of understanding that, you know, we're really the good people, and you really can come to us, and we're somebody you can talk to, and just talk to. And this works out really well. You know, the little kids still really love the SRO, and there's lots of hugs and high fives. You know, the middle school, we have some of you are aware of our community accountability program, community accountability board, and some of you participate in it. So that's something that we do as far as informal counseling goes, and So that's integrated, and we're looking forward to kind of getting that rolling. And, you know, it's work that's been on hold also with COVID. So hopefully at some point we can get that rolling. So there's also a lot of just meeting with the SRO and conflict resolution and what do I do about this person that's causing me trouble and how do I get out of this situation? And so, you know, as far as, you know, the other thing that we're doing at all levels, of course, is we are a resource to be able to report if something bad has happened to you somewhere else. And unfortunately, that is where a lot of our child abuse cases initiate is in the schools, because that's a good, safe place to report. So that's it in a nutshell. There's you know, there's a whole lot more to it. I could go on about this forever, but they asked me to keep it 10, 15 minutes. So I'll answer any questions if you have any, however.
Thank you, Kathleen, and we appreciate you coming this evening, and we appreciate the SRO work. We've had a great collaboration between the city and the Hermiston School District, and we feel like, and I think the school district feels like it's mutually beneficial to the community as well as the students.
100% agree.
And you know, what I'm hearing you talk about are relationships and trying to develop positive relationships with public safety officers, about learning from experiences, not necessarily punishment, but learning.
Absolutely.
And potentially behavioral modification. Trying to keep kids from making life-altering decisions that could impact them their entire future. And I think there's a lot of other opportunities for success in having school resource officers in our schools, but there's a lot of pushback now too with SROs, and some communities that are wanting to remove SROs. And even at the national level, I was on a National League of Cities conference today that was brought up on a national level push. And so that's not the experience that we've had here in our community, and maybe you could provide some thoughts about that and why it's beneficial to our community to keep SROs in schools.
I think it's going to continue to benefit our community, and I really hope we never get to a point that our SROs are viewed that way. Our SROs are the people that are in the hallways doing high fives to everybody coming in the building and getting involved. I've got a picture of Chris McMahon dancing in a tutu at an assembly, you know, as a fundraiser. You know, and I think this is the kind of interaction that our SROs will continue to have. And you know, I think the benefit is always going to be having the teacher, the counselor, the law enforcer there. And so if there's a need for a law enforcement officer, we're absolutely there in that role. It's not always, in fact, often it's not the law enforcement side of us that's needed. It's more our perspective and you know, that informal counseling. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping we'll end up with people viewing our SROs that way.
Yeah. Well, I know there is
we'll fix that.
The Hermiston City Council has come out and support of SROs in our community and school district. And so we appreciate everything that you guys are doing in our schools. And I think you're doing good things with our kids as a result. Any other comments from the council?
I think they do a great job.
Thank you.
Ms. Mike?
I think that the human interaction that you have with the kids is really something that they look forward to. They feel special, and it's a really good resource for us to have. Thank you.
Yeah, even during COVID, you guys went out to people's houses, right?
Right, yes.
And did some presentations for
Yeah,
attendance and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, every Friday the school selected students to get some kind of an award, and so we showed up there and handed out coffee cards, and times have changed, haven't they? But the grade schoolers got little Slurpee certificates, and so that was always a lot of fun. And then the SROs loved it, and of course the kids loved it. And I think there was a great opportunity for us to do some relationship building with our new SROs that didn't really know a lot of the kids yet. So we're looking forward to getting them in there. And they're all, we just started our first SRO back to school. Tomorrow, really, we had a substitute today, first day. Because he already had a vacation plan. But Officer Bayou comes back to work tomorrow, and he's hit the ground running. And I'll be spending a lot of time in the schools for the first, well, probably for a lot of the years, since we're almost done with the year. But with all of the SROs being new and new roles, I'll be spending a lot of time with them.
Any comments? Mr. Hart?
I'm definitely in favor, and have been for years, obviously, but I think it makes a big difference as far as seeing the officers within the schools, and I think it reflects on what's happening in our schools and the positive things. So I'm excited for this program to continue to grow and going to reap great benefits, I believe. Thank you.
Yeah, we have officers that work in our department now that remember their SRO from school when they were going to school, so it's kind of fun to have, you know, those positive impacts that they've had. Even then, when it was a little bit different approach, it was still a really positive impact on the youth.
And if I could just add, selfishly, roughly 90–95% of what a police officer deals with every day is a lot of negative things. We don't, typically we do not get called when something good has happened, and so it's beneficial for our people as well. And when we hear the positive stories, we share them internally. Officer Sandoval still has people from, the early days, her early days as a youth services officer that have kept in touch with her. I think I shared with the council recently, 2 summers ago, we were dealing with some paperwork issues, but one of the first people that went through our Community Accountability Board is now a translator at the White House. And so he was putting in for a promotion, so I got to speak to him numerous times. And it's just, it's positive stories like that police officers don't really get to see. And so this is kind of like, in my opinion, this is like DARE on steroids. You can't quantify success by something statistically. If one kid chooses not to go down the path of drugs, alcohol, because of some sort of influence, how do you not call that a win for everybody? So Captain Ena and the 3 school resource officers, I know they will continue to do a great job and make sure that the parents are involved just as much as the school is involved. And that heavy-handed approach, we're very sensitive to. We acknowledge that at times there needs to be law enforcement, but if the school can handle it administratively and us take a different approach, that's fine.
Well, I thank the Hermiston School District for their partnership. I also thank the SROs and Kathleen, your leadership with them in developing positive role models and being the leaders that they can look up to. So thank you for your service, and please share that with the other.
Thank you. I will share that. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, now we're at the opportunity in our meeting for citizen input. And this is the first opportunity for citizen input, but we're going to speak specifically about non-agenda items. So if there are individuals that would like to speak to the city council, please come up to the microphone up front, introduce yourself by name and address, direct your comments to me, and limit your discussion to not more than 5 minutes. Are there individuals that would like to speak this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Cheryl Kroll. I live here in Hermiston at 80336 Hornsby Lane. I was here last meeting. I shared some articles with you, highlights having to do with our Governor Brown. I left with you a photocopy of a sign that a Grants Pass business owner had placed on their business. It also referred to an Oregon statute of 105.700. And I'm just here wondering, was there any follow-up with that? Was there any, was it shared with business owners? Just as something for them individually to check out, that maybe that they would also choose this direction in helping to open their business?
Ms. Crowe, thank you for coming and speaking again this evening. Appreciate your time. We don't typically engage in a conversation back and forth. It's your opportunity to speak with us. But as far as to answer that question, I don't think we've shared that with anybody, and that opportunity probably be best shared with the Chamber of Commerce because they have the best connection to the business community.
Thank you.
We don't really have a network of business engagement.
Okay.
And the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce would probably be the right resource in trying to engage in the conversation.
I appreciate the direction. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Thank you. Others? Come on. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm David McCarthy, 963 East Filbert Avenue. I just want to remind everyone, even though I'm not running a campaign, that there is a ballot and you have until tomorrow to vote. And as I care about just seeing increased voter turnout, to please get your ballots in the ballot boxes at the building, forgetting the Stafford Hansel building down there. And you can do that, I believe, by 8 p.m. tomorrow. So please turn that in. Thank you.
Thanks, David. So, Mr. Smith, we do not have one down at Field City Hall.
No, because of all the changes and not being able to say it's going to be in a certain place, for a long time the county opted to put it at their on their property.
And we have a counselor up for election, right? Mike Coon? It's on the ballot. So if you haven't voted yet, there are ballots due by tomorrow, 8 p.m. Turn them to it's probably too late to mail, I think.
Yes, I think you need to drop them at the
ballot box up at Stafford Hansel building. And yes, I agree with Mr. McCarthy. I'd love to see a greater voter turnout. Other comments? Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I apologize. I intended to place this item on the agenda more as an information, but a representative from Anderson Perry is also here, and so there was a letter placed at your seats tonight. The past few years, Anderson Perry has basically funded a scholarship program jointly with the city, but they're the ones that put all the funds behind it. And they have worked with us in selecting a Hermiston High School student that has an interest in engineering and then offered a $1,000 scholarship. It's been different amounts, but that's the amount that they're proposing for this coming year. And so Joshua Lott, who is our representative, who works full-time at Hermiston, and you're more familiar with Chaz potentially, but here basically to present this idea and ask for the council to go ahead.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Byron said, my name's Joshua. I'm kind of the guy that's manning the Anderson Perry shop here now. Chaz is still here, but I'm kind of the guy that's filling in all the cracks when he's not. So, like Byron said, we like to reach out to communities that we've engaged with and have, partnered with to support infrastructure and do projects with, and we really like to do that and to show our support to the communities that we appreciate. And as part of that this year, Hermiston was one of the ones that the board at Anderson Perry selected to partner with to present a scholarship opportunity to a student in the Hermiston School District. So my understanding is that that's going to be a $1,000 scholarship, and that Anderson Perry will take care of all the application process, the submittal of, it's going to be an online process, so the students will be able to log on to Anderson Perry's website, create an account, and there will be a series of questions that will be determined by Anderson Perry, and they will be able to fill those out and hopefully, get their scholarship. So I don't know how many applicants there have been in the past, but I think there will be a lot this time. To clarify, it is a STEM scholarship, so science, technology, engineering, and it doesn't necessarily need to be just engineering. It's kind of the STEM field there. So we really have appreciated working with Hermiston the past, several years, and we look forward to many opportunities to work for you and with you in the future.
Thank you, Joshua, and thank you to Anderson Perry for their generous donation to a potential student. I'm guessing this is a Hermiston High School graduate. It's
A senior, yes.
No requirement on where they go to school.
Correct.
As far as college, right? But they do have to have an interest in pursuing a degree in science, technology, engineering, and math.
Correct.
When's the application process start, and when will the award be?
Well, they work directly with the counseling office at Hermiston High School and give them all the information. So basically, this is informing the council, informs the community, and then they can. The counseling office usually places this on the high school website, and then students can access it from there and make the applications. And each year, it seems like we've gotten more and more applications. When we first did it, we were a little late getting there, so we had just a few, and then each year it built, and I think people are starting to recognize that it's an opportunity they could expand to.
Excellent. So parents or students, or parents that have a student, or students that are interested in science, technology, engineering, math, seniors at Hermiston High School, that would like some extra money to help them go to college, an opportunity to win $1,000. So we appreciate our partners at Anderson Perry for their generous donation. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to the consent agenda items. There's consent agenda items A through F. Do we need to pull any of those for consideration? Yes, sir.
Not necessarily pull, but I do want to comment on consent agenda item E.
Take B?
Yes.
Okay.
Recommendation to Hispanic Advisory Committee, position to Obdulia Munoz Reyes. This is a needed addition to our Hispanic Advisory Committee. Obdulia, nominally, we need female representation on the committee, so it's exciting to see more applicants come across and hopefully help strengthen our Hispanic Advisory Committee.
Okay. Well, then you better put that agenda.
Right on.
Any others that need to be pulled or talked about on the consent agenda items? Is there any public comment on the consent agenda items A through F? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F?
So moved.
Second. So I believe I heard Councilor Duran. Is that right? Okay. She motioned and seconded by Councilor Brennan. That we approve consent agenda items A through F. Roll call.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Yes, congratulations to all of our committee appointees that are willing to donate their time and energy and willpower and community engagement to help serve the city. And so not only did we have one in Hispanic Advisory, we had a couple of Planning Commission as well as Department of Rec Department. So thank you to all of those volunteers. There were no items removed. Resolution 2174, franchise Oregon RFA number 2. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so I'll turn the time over to Mr. Morgan to walk us through this item.
Yes, so this resolution this evening is to approve a new telecommunications franchise with Oregon RSA number 2. Oregon RSA number 2 is ultimately the local legal name for the outfit that is working with U.S. Cellular to implement what is known colloquially as their 5G technology. Cities all over the country would engage in franchise agreements with various utility providers, whether it's electricity, telecom, those types of things, really just to manage those facilities that are necessary for residents to get things like internet and electricity and those types of things. So we can manage them in a a good manner and have some control over our rights of way, because that's ultimately where these facilities are going, is in the right of way that's owned by the public. And so the 5G technology is wireless. It's relatively new, but it's been coming for quite some time now. That ultimately they operate off of trying to get faster download speeds and upload speeds to people's wireless devices, and they do that by increasing the density that they have of their wireless transmitters. And so that's ultimately where they're heading with this. Like I mentioned, it's been in the work for some time. City Council actually amended our telecommunications section of our code back in September of 2017 in anticipation of this. So it's something that's been on the horizon for a while. We began working with U.S. Cellular's folks back in the beginning of 2019, actually, starting to work through this. And during that time, there was a lot of change continuing to take place through the Federal Communications Commission, getting a lot of these things ironed out. And so really taking basically 2 years working through this process with U.S. Cellular and our specialist legal firm, Cable Houston. Taking that time, a lot of those things have been settled at the federal level. One of those items is specific to the fees that cities can charge for 5G facilities. That's still very much an issue that is continuing to work its way through the FCC and may change at some point in the future. But recognizing that this is a technology that needs to move forward without getting inhibited by those things, the FCC adopted what they refer to as safe harbor fees, and so that's something that allows us to charge fees. It allows the vendor to move forward with some certainty as to what that's going to look like without worrying about protracted litigation over time. So our fees set out in this franchise fee schedule adhere directly to the FCC's safe harbor rules. And then also the length of the franchise agreement is roughly normal, maybe a little bit short, at just 5 years, and that was specifically so that it doesn't lock either of us into too long of a franchise agreement as the national landscape on the law and these types of things continues to shift potentially. So it doesn't lock us into a permanent long-term franchise agreement in something that is still has the potential to change. One of the concerns in the local government realm as 5G was becoming a concept was a concern that telecommunications carriers would propagate hundreds and hundreds of cell towers and poles all throughout the city and take up a lot of our rights of way. Ultimately, it doesn't look like that will turn out to be too much of a concern. The proposal that's before you this evening by U.S. Cellular would ultimately place 21 poles in our right of way, significantly fewer than something like electricity poles or power poles we have through the city. So 21 poles ultimately is where they're looking at. About a third of those, we will be encouraging them to go on to existing HES and or even to electric co-op poles. There's extensive language in the franchise agreement specific to co-location of facilities on either existing poles or working with the city to identify location for new city-owned poles. So that will certainly be our effort to try to encourage the co-location of facilities and reduce too many poles being in the right of way. Due to COVID-19, U.S. Cellular does not have a representative joining us, but they did provide a good detailed one-page information sheet for your review. As I mentioned, we've been working with our specialist law firm at Cable Houston for about 2 years on this, going back and forth with this franchise agreement, and so I'm pretty happy with where it is and where it's at. So it's already been approved in form by the U.S. Cellular folks, and so it's before you this evening for approval, and I recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I know as this technology has evolved, the U.S. government has made a pretty big push on 5G expansion, and several cities as well as states and associations with cities have filed lawsuits in response. And so the fees that we potentially could generate here, are those in lieu, or are they different from what we would normally charge in our right of way? And, or are they more in line with what the FCC says we can charge? And is there any potential for those fees having to be paid or be sued or be generated should any lawsuit go through?
So, there was a lot of questions in there.
I can answer most of them.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe if my microphone turns on. Yes, so first off, the question of is this similar to fees that we already charge? The short answer is no, because it is a new technology, and so it's different than what some of the other franchises are that we have. Specifically, something like what we charge to Charter Communications or CenturyLink, those are based on a percentage of their gross revenues that they recognize from customers inside of the city limits. That is easy to calculate and collect from those vendors because they specifically have their billing tied to an address located inside of the city of Hermiston. This is something that's more like with a cellular tower. We can't, they can't keep track of who's driving through town on a cell phone and collect those revenues. We do have one other form of franchise fee that we charge to folks like Pacific Power and Light. We do still have a franchise fee with them that is based on per linear foot of occupancy in the right of way, and so we charge, it's just a little over $1 per linear foot when they have their facilities located in our right of way. This specific franchise, the way that it's set up is they are subcontracting with Lightspeed Networks, which already has a franchise with the city. They provide fiber optic backhaul services through the city. We charge them a per linear foot charge for having the overhead fiber running through town. So this franchise with US Cellular, it just charges them based on a per node, like a per pole basically, where they have their facilities located in the city. So that is different than what most of the franchises are that we currently have. However, to your question of, is this something that they could take back or we could end up getting in litigation over? That is specifically why the FCC created those safe harbor fees, and this is directly copies those safe harbor fees, where it was basically the FCC and the large telecom companies saying, well, we need to move forward on something. Let's just go ahead and adopt something that we aren't going to litigate over. That's not to say that some of those other challenges can't move forward, but at least this allows us to avoid any of those legal costs, fighting over something that may end up getting pulled back. So I do know that there are a number of other jurisdictions in Oregon even, which are charging different franchise fees than what are set out here, and they may be more aggressive and generate more revenue. But I will say our specialist attorneys out of Portland, they are very good at what they do, and they charge accordingly. And so this, just charging the FCC safe harbor fees, I think, allows us to, we're not foregoing too much revenue, but we're saving an awful lot of headache and legal fees if we were to try and charge something else. And that's again why the term is only set at 5 years, so it allows us, once the dust settles, hopefully, at the federal level, then we may be able to change what those franchise fees are.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Vice Chair?
I've got a couple. So that's 21 new poles they're planning to put. Do we know what these poles are going to look like and what kind of impact they're going to have in the community?
Yes, so in the single-page information flyer that they included as an exhibit in the agenda packet, that's essentially what their facilities look like. There will be, I think, about 18 inches tall as will be placed on top of the pole, about 6 inches in diameter, so basically looks like a big cylinder that would sit on top of the pole. In some instances, there will be like a ground-mounted pedestal and those types of things, but that's more or less what they'll look like. And again, there's 21 poles. At this point, we believe that they'll be able to go on to 6 existing poles, so there may be 15 new poles that would have to be placed.
And I guess my other question is there going to be any additional infrastructure that's going to need to be run to these poles? Are they going to need to run any new telecommunication lines or power boxes, anything like that.
Yeah, so that's where, they're trying to achieve densification is what they call it. They need to have these poles within certain radius of their, the rest of their system, but a big consideration of where they're placing their facilities is right along Lightspeed Networks, fiber optic lines. So they certainly don't want to be running any additional fiber optics where they don't have to. And they will require power to go to operate some of their facilities. So that will be a consideration.
Other questions, conflicts?
That was my question.
Okay. So this evening, looking for an approval or rejection of resolution 2174.
I make a motion we accept and approve resolution 2174.
Okay, then motion by Councilor Herman, second by Councilor Davis. Any public comment on resolution 2174?
Jackie Blanton, Hermiston. I just have a question. Do you know where the poles will be located?
There's a map in our agenda this evening.
I don't have your attention.
So if you go online,
That was so easy.
I can probably get you a copy, but on the online version, there's an actual map that shows exactly where everyone is located. And they're all kind of central core areas out of residential neighborhoods, if I remember right.
Yeah, RSA was good to work with. We requested that they try to locate all their facilities along arterial and collector streets, so as much as possible keeps them out of some of the more residential neighborhoods. You will notice there are really two that I would say don't follow that. There's a number of challenges with locating where those poles go. One being, we would much prefer that they go on existing power poles. One of the challenges is that we don't like, for safety reasons, we don't like to have non-electric utility folks working above the power lines, essentially, and so we don't allow people to attach those electric poles above the power lines, and so that creates some challenges when they're going to look where they're going to go. That's when they have to place a new pole. In some instances, though, then that means they also have to be on the opposite side of the street from the power lines. And then in some instances, we actually have two different power utilities with power lines on both sides of the street. So there's a number of considerations as to where these poles go. But in a nutshell, we very much try to make sure that they stay out of the middle of residential neighborhoods and more on those main thoroughfare streets.
Yeah, obviously, in working with business, they obviously understand the business better than we do and want them to be effective in what the product is. I think this is mutually beneficial to our community and will provide a better service. It seems like that's the direction of the future as far as internet and speed and access. And as we've seen this year specifically, access to internet is super critical. So having another option, high-speed option, will be mutually beneficial. I see representatives from AGS and UEC here this evening. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, none at this time.
Okay. All right, any other public comment? All right, we're going to motion in a second. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. So on to committee reports. City committee and liaisons. Anyone here like to speak to committee reports? Yes, Mr. Burrow.
At our EOT committee meeting, in that committee meeting, we elected the chair and the vice chair. So Jessica Narnan, the representative from the hoteliers, and Doug Bennett will be the chair and vice chair respectively. Other than that, we had a quorum, so it was great. We were able to move along with what we were doing, and hopefully this next time around, or this next council meeting, or the next one after that, we're going to present the map, the 20-year master plan. Other than that, just really talked about what EOTech's been doing in order to keep busy. And we had a great presentation from Keith from Architects West. He's been really great. He's been able to show us a lot of the details of the maps, going over multiple plans in order to finally get to the finished product. And happy to say that the fair and the rodeo are on board with the EOTech master plan, and hopefully we get on deal with the next time.
Yeah, for those of us that have been engaged in that process for a significant period of time, almost fell out of our chairs, because it's been a lot of hard work and effort to try and come to a resolution and please all parties. And I think it's going to be a product that the council will be very proud of, and we'll look forward to seeing us work on as a 20-year plan. And I think the community will appreciate all the time and effort that we put into the design and what potentially it could look like if resources present themselves and the council chooses to go down the pathway of trying to make some changes and amendments there. But at least now we have, a very accurate architectural layout of all the facilities that are there currently and where they're exactly at, and as well as the infrastructure that's in place. And now we can work on redesigning or adding to the facilities up there. So I look forward to that. Would that be next meeting?
We're looking at next meeting, potentially the meeting after that.
So that'll come in front of the council for
yes.
And it does sound like Roy mentioned the outdoor events are very busy this year. Almost every weekend, if I remember right, it's booked up. Indoor events, now that we can have indoor events, they're starting to book more, but there's lots of availability still. And so if you have an event that you're planning, I would encourage you to start talking with Al up at EOTech and getting on his schedule. Last year, I know prior to COVID, almost all the weekends indoors were also booked. So I would anticipate those will fill up pretty quickly as well. So that's another good meeting with EOTech. Any other committee report?
Mr. Mayor, if I could add to the previous report, I did want to, and I know we'll talk about it more once the presentation lays out, but I did want to give a shout out to former Councilor John Kerwin for being a part of the committee, yourself as well, Mayor Drotzman for being a part as a council representative, and Steve Williams also, who I know chaired the EOTech. I've had the pleasure of being in the EOTech committee probably for the last year, so I know there's a lot of work that's been done in that committee, so it's a testament to a lot of people's hard work to get to the point that we're at today.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a balance of trying to, balance the needs of the community with the needs of the fair and the needs of the rodeo and what the future design looks like. We went from 16 acres to 90 acres, and we've got to figure out how to manage and best utilize that for our constituents. So exciting process, but also very collaborative process. It's been a nice conversation to have with the community. The mayor's report, as I mentioned earlier, engaged with the NLC this week, and they have their annual conference. It's all virtual. It's been an interesting conversation to see what's happening across the nation in other communities and other cities. Today we had the Vice President, Kamala Harris spoke. The Secretary of Transportation, Mayor Buttigieg, spoke. Several senators spoke. And so just a lot of collaboration and conversation around the NLC goals and trying to figure out, what's best for communities as it relates from big to small. And there's great opportunities for additional education and resource gathering for counselors. So I know Councilor Harden is a regular attendee at that. Surprised to not see him there this year, especially when he could do it from his own couch in his own house. But, it's a great way for you counselors to engage with other counselors and find out new ideas. I came up with several creative ideas from other communities today, and just listening to the conversation. A lot of excitement around the American Recovery Act, which was passed over the weekend by the Senate. It'll go in front of the House tomorrow, I believe, for a vote. I don't anticipate that'll be too much of a hurdle. And on to the President's desk. That's good news for cities. You know, over the last year, cities have lost a significant amount of revenue, and this was a direct fund to cities this time rather than a pass-through state funding. Last time, 45% of the allocation from the CARES fund was supposed to go to cities. We saw 25%, unfortunately, and so left a pretty big hole. We'll be able to do a lot more for our community and a lot more for our people that are struggling and hurting in the process, as well as help fill out some holes, that budget shortfalls that we've had. So it was good to see that that got supported and passed. I will meet with Representative Brooke Benson on Wednesday as part of Congressional Capital Day. So once a year, the League of Oregon Cities organizes a conversation with our representatives, either representatives or the senators, and there's a whole day planned on Wednesday. My day job gets in the way of most of it, so I will meet with our East Side representative, Congressman Cliff Betts, Wednesday morning. So if there's anything that council would like to pass along, I'd be happy to do that. Mr. Smith, as far as our retreat and goal-setting session that we had, when is that coming up for consideration of council or approval?
We're looking at the next meeting. Sarah had a number of other engagements, and so she's been working hard to get the report together. We should have that for the next meeting.
Okay, excellent. And then the other thing, maybe, I know Larry mentioned earlier, about Funland and its grand opening. Assuming we can get it all done before Memorial Day, I was just going to suggest maybe the Thursday before Memorial Day, because it's a big travel weekend, trying to catch people before they go out of town, and then having the park open for the weekend. Maybe if there's people in town, it'd be a great time to do that. And then I'll have to also apologize to the council that I will not be in attendance next meeting, and so your council president will be filling in for me. Mr. Primer, I've prepared him, so we've got a couple weeks to worry about it. Yeah, Ryan got out of this one. Council reports. Okay. Ms. Braun?
So, Mr. Smith has been busy with some of our new counselors like myself. I had the opportunity to go to the recycled water treatment plant, and I learned a lot. It was fascinating to learn about the process and just the expertise and the work that they're doing. A lot of that goes behind the scenes. I think most people don't know about it like me. You just kind of smell it, but other than that, you don't know that much about it. So I really appreciate the work that they're doing, over there, and just the professionalism. I was really impressed with the facility, and of course, I also went to tour the Hermiston Police Department and the municipal court. I was able to meet Molly, the newest employee there, and I'm quite familiar with the police department, not because I've been detained or anything, but my previous involvement with the chemical stockpile emergency preparedness program. I was able to go to the fire department and police department, but I still continue to appreciate the work that they do, and I like a lot of the new changes that might be happening with the municipal court, just to bring it up to speed, with what other municipal court systems are doing as far as records keeping. And I was really impressed with the tours. I look forward to the Water Public Works tour tomorrow, and then the next day we have the library, and then we'll be touring the old City Hall. So I'm very thankful for your time, Mr. Smith. I know it takes time away from what you normally would be doing, but I really appreciate us having the opportunity to see, some of the departments that we kind of help oversee or learn about. And I really like how you also added, it was a nice addition to be able to recognize city employees or other people in our community that are doing wonderful things. So I want to thank you for that opportunity. It was a pleasant surprise, and maybe Mr. Federer might have mentioned it at one of the Hispanic Advisory Committee meetings, and it didn't register. So I was pleasantly surprised to see a young artist, to be recognized this evening. So thank you for that, and I look forward to other times when other folks get recognized during the city council. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ron, did you happen to get to see the outflow of the wastewater treatment plant?
Yes, I did.
I mean, it's like drinking water, right? I mean, drinking water quality, it's so...
I saw that.
It's so
Yes.
amazing. That it's
Now,
actually-
every time I drink water out of the tap, that's what comes to mind.
Well, I think, the city of Hermiston was recognized for the effluent that we put out and its ability to be put right back into irrigation water. And we repurpose, I don't know if a lot of community members know that, but we repurpose the effluent into the irrigation canal to be used for irrigation purposes, which helps irrigate crops and repurpose the water back into our community. So it's an extremely valuable process, but it does stink when you drive by there, but the outcome of the product is, virtually clean drinking water. So it's amazing. How about other councilors? Yes, Mr. Brown.
Had the pleasure of attending a League of Oregon Cities of People of Color Caucus, and in it we discussed a couple of priorities. This was the first official meeting that we've had as a People of Color Caucus for the League of Oregon Cities. We discussed House Bill 2678, which is about ranked choice voting. So that was a really interesting explanation about ranked choice voting and the potential of that being a possibility here in Oregon. They mentioned it's been done in different cities and different states and different jurisdictions. So it was a really interesting presentation on that. Also talked about Senate Bill 79, which is access to home ownership. It's supposed to address racial disparities in home ownership. So that was a really interesting conversation, and it was a really great group to be a part of. I was really honored. I was nominated and selected to be the treasurer for the People of Color Caucus. So some representation for Eastern Oregon as well. But I was really happy and pleased to be recognized in the leadership for the People of Color Caucus. Other than that, I really wanted to ask about the dog park as well. I wanted to see when that grand opening is going to be, but that's all the updates I have.
Do you have an update on the dog park grand opening?
March 26th. I believe it's 4 p.m. That will be I don't know, various people have a nice creative name for it, but the grand opening.
The park?
Yeah, Park.
The park. Well, congratulations, Roy. Your nomination as treasurer is rolling to president.
No, he, unfortunately, he's super busy being, he's on the board of directors with the League of Oregon Cities, so he's a participant and a member of the League of People of Color Caucus, but not in the leadership role. I do want to take this opportunity, though, as well to invite all the counselors to the People of Color Caucus. You don't necessarily need to be a person of color to be in the People of Color Caucus, but we merely talk about issues that are pertinent to people of color. So obviously racial disparities, we talked about voting, so I encourage all council members if they're interested to join. We're looking for membership as well.
Yeah, I know the League of Oregon Cities also beyond the People of Color Caucus is formed a women's caucus. Is that right?
It's in the process. It's not been officially recognized by the board, but I believe it will be at our next board meeting. I'm not sure.
So they are seeking engagement from our female colleagues at the council level to engage in that caucus or group committee as well. So if you have interest in participating at a statewide level and aligning with the group that you may be affiliated with, there are some opportunities at the League of Oregon Cities to do so if you want to be. Other councilors?
I just want to jump in. Looking forward to the grand opening of Funland. I went to View Park this weekend. My children had to walk all the way around the play structure and look at everything that's been built, plan which things they were going to play on first. So I'm glad that's going in. I have gotten a lot of comments from the community about the dog park. Even though it's not officially open, it is open, and it is used constantly, all the time, and a lot of people told me that that is something that we really needed as a city, and that they're very happy and that they take their dogs there all the time to play. So I'm very glad to see that that's going to be a grand opening. But it's there, it's open now, people should go use it, and I'll just congratulate Councilor Barone on his appointment.
Others?
Yes, so I just have a few items I want to let the council know is happening, and as well as the community. So there are a couple of new COVID-related programs that are become available recently. One is a commercial rent relief program for business owners that might be renting their business location. If you get on Business Oregon's website, that's available. Then there's a mortgage relief program that is being put together by the administered by the Oregon Affordable Housing Assistance Corporation. It's a state agency. And if you go to OregonHomeownerHealth.org, that's the website. It's a pretty tight turnaround. There's the deadline is March 14th, so that's this coming Sunday for an application on that. Then we also found out recently, as part of the last COVID relief package in December, there was some money for transportation in that fund that looks like the city will get approximately $50,000. We haven't heard 100% what that amount will be, but we're looking forward to being able to use that to make our gas tax dollars go a little further on projects. Then we have been looking at the latest relief package and what that could mean. It looks like we could see funds within approximately 90 days. Right now, pending, we haven't, I think the bill is probably hundreds of pages, but our latest look at it would be potentially in the millions that we could receive. So we'll be looking at making some recommendations, things like that we could, that would be beneficial for the city. Then there was also something I wanted to report. And this is a nationwide, about 60,000 servers, Exchange, Outlook, email servers were compromised. And because of the weakness in a new patch that Microsoft had sent out, our IT is telling us that it looks like our server may have been compromised, and they're currently going through all of the protocols that are recommended, which means rebuilding the server, all kinds of things like that. And that will include coming to you a requirement to institute a new password for your email. And I know everybody loves to change their passwords. So if you need some help, Lily can help you out with that. But just wanted to give you a warning that will be coming. That's one of the protocols that they're recommending to try to keep our server safe. Then the last item is wanted to let the council know, next meeting we anticipate having a joint, in place of our workshop, we're going to have a joint session with the Planning Commission to have a discussion about some of the recommendations related to the House Bill 2001, which is the requirement that we make every single-family zone eligible to have at least duplexes. And so the Planning Commission has kind of hashed through some things, and they wanted to get a little more feedback from the council about some of those issues to make sure that they didn't come back with a recommendation that the council wasn't comfortable with. So our consultants who have helped kind of do the study and prepare some of the recommendations will be here. And we plan to start early so that we can have enough time. So we're planning to start at 5:30. So warning everybody, we'll warn you again and again before then, but we just wanted to try to, and the reason for the urgency on that is if we don't have changes or if we haven't implemented the law And we have to use the state standards, which is something we really aren't interested in. Those standards don't fit our community, and so we want to implement our own. And so just give you a little bit of a heads up if you want to come and talk to myself or Clint about that further, you know, one-on-one, we're happy to do that, just to kind of give you some more background. But that will be coming, and I think those are all the items I have.
Councilman Brown, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I had a question about the funds coming up from this new package, and I know maybe this is a little preliminary, but are those funds going to be used for revenue replacement, or are they going to be used like EOTech in terms of like maybe making facilities safer in order for there to be more use?
Well, the way I'm understanding what I've seen so far is that it wouldn't necessarily be tied to a project or something like that. So potentially, you know, just potentially it could be a way for us to kind of solidify our fund balance that has gone a little bit light because of our lack of revenue. So those are some of the ideas that we're kind of looking at this point. But we're hoping that yes, that will be used for not just for projects and reimbursement, but for revenue replacement.
My understanding it's going to be pretty significant. And it will come in two formats, half up front and then half in the year. But you have, I think, up until 2024 to spend it all. So I think there's some flexibility that is in there because some of these expenses that we incur, you know, it's going to take us a while to pay it back. And, you know, replacing the years with the lost park and rec, you know, program. That sort of stuff, the lost revenue of EOTech, all of those things, it takes time to rebuild and build back. So there's some flexibility in there as far as timeline too. So excited that it stayed in the package, frankly. You know, there was a lot of conversation about it not being in there. You know, a lot of communities, states specifically, had, you know, recovered fairly well. And so there's a lot of pushback at federal government that they didn't need the money. The unfortunate part, people that were missing at the table with cities and counties, and they got hit a lot harder. So I'm glad to see that it stayed in there. It's a direct allocation rather than a state allocation.
Well, and I will have to clarify that, but probably we will not be a direct allocated city. We will still have to come through the state, but there seems to be some strong language that would not allow the state flexibility to not give us the money.
Yeah, I guess there's some pretty significant penalties in there.
Right, because we're a smaller jurisdiction, 50,000 and above would have a direct allocation.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, so we do have a Hermiston Urban Renewal agency meeting tonight as well, so I'm going to adjourn the Hermiston City Council meeting and convene the Urban Renewal Agency meeting with the call to order. New business, Mr. Smith.
I'm going to ask Mr. Spencer to walk through this.
Yes.
Tonight, the City Council is looking at a facade grant request for property located at 149 East Main Street, also known as the Pheasant. They have submitted a request for a facade grant for doing awning improvements on the Main Street frontage and the rear alley frontage of the building. They're proposing total replacement of the awnings at a project budget of $21,000 is proposed. The Planning Commission scored their application and reviewed it at their last meeting, at which time they came up with a recommendation for a 30% match. 30% match of $21,000 is about $6,300.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Any public comment on this? Yes, come on.
Okay, I don't know where to start.
Name?
Sheree Collins.
Address?
Address 80697 Tabor Road. We are the owners of the Pheasant, and we missed the last meeting where they went through all this because we were getting ready to open up and things just went crazy and I totally forgot. But first off, I want to say thank you guys so very much for allowing us to keep that tent back there and helping us pay for it. We just wanted to stay open to at least keep a presence in the community instead of just closing the doors, which we had to for a couple of weeks due to the weather, but we do greatly appreciate that. So let me say that first off. This awning facade it's needed done for a while, and we just finally before COVID the shutdowns, we had the funds to do, if we could get a 50-50 match, we could have done the 30% match with it, but because we've been shut down for a year and things have been really rough at this point in time, if we only get the 30%, it's gonna take us a while to get it fixed. It's gonna be a while before we get up and running again, we can get the money stockpiled to get that much done. In the meantime, it's gonna sit there and look ugly. Right now it's just a frame. What we wanna do is, because we wanna get that put up and everything, the box thing up on top, we're working on figuring out how to get it fixed too. Whether to get it painted or to put something up there to make the top of that look better. The way it sits now, it's gonna be a while before we can get it done. But I really do need this 50% match. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you, Sharice. You know, I just feel terrible for our restaurant businesses. And, you know, what's been done to you guys this year is just horrendous. And I'm glad to see you're still here. I'm glad to see you're still fighting. Glad you're still staying in Hermiston, keeping a viable business going. And so that's kind of not related to this, but it is related to this, you know, in the fact that you're trying to also improve your business at the same time in a year that's just been catastrophic. So good for you. Good for you and your business and finding a way to kind of, you know, struggle through. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and besides the facade things, we've got other things we're going to do too, like the back wall and alley, we're going to get it painted more gray so it kind of blends in with what the alley looks like, and, you know, work on the front bricks out front. We're going to clean them up and paint in between them so that they'll stand out a little better and brighter. And so there's more we're doing other than just that awning. And my husband does most of the work ourselves, so.
Nice to hand it in around. Clayton, can you explain the process as far as what the recommendation was? And why that 30% threshold?
Basically, when the planning commission was scoring it, they were going off of the quotes in the application for the awning repair, and felt that that was more of a maintenance activity that didn't meet some of the objectives of the Urban Renewal Agency. However, at the time, they didn't have the additional information of, you know, touching up the bricks or any paint work or things like that. So should the council consider that, you do have the authority to modify the grant award. That was done with Ma Laguna when they received a grant, or the city council did up it, or you could also just accept the planning commission's recommendation. Either way, there is adequate funds in the facade grant funding to handle it.
Councilor, is there a recommendation there?
I'd like to recommend we bump it up to 50%.
I agree.
Okay, so is there any other public comment? There's been a motion by Councilor Kerner and seconded by Councilor Davis that we approve the urban renewal grant at 50%. Line 50%.
Just one quick clarification. Up to 10,000 is what we can do, but that's very close to their 50%.
50% match up to the $10,000 limit allowed within the urban renewal agency.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I did have a question. With the last application that we had that was similar to this, we had at least some scoring, and we had at least some information, and I don't see any of that here, so it just kind of makes me uncomfortable, because I know when we did it for Laguna, it was a point differential, And this is a situation that's slightly different. So
And last time you did include that, Clarence, but I didn't see that in here either this time. So normally that's part of the whole attachment.
Yeah, I apologize that we didn't include it this time.
So we got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Well, thank you, Sharice. We really do appreciate you and appreciate the pheasant still being here and being around. And you know, we're trying to do everything we can to help support our small businesses and keep you guys involved. Yeah. And if you're a member of the community and you're hearing this tonight, shop local. Support your local businesses. Go out there and make sure that you're going to Teresa's restaurant or any other local restaurants here in town, because now they're open and you can go have food inside. And so please engage with them. Spend your money here locally. Anything else, Mr. Smith? Okay. We're adjourned.